The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the small cafe, casting golden light across the worn wooden tables. Madison Hayes sat alone, nervously smoothing her simple cream-colored dress and checking her phone for the 10th time in as many minutes. At 25, she had been on exactly 3 dates in her life, all of them disasters, and she was fairly certain this one would be no different. Her friend Alexis had set this up, insisting that Madison needed to get back into dating after a painful breakup 2 years ago. The man, according to Alexis, was successful, kind, and genuinely interested in meeting her. But Madison had her doubts. Men like that did not go on blind dates with kindergarten teachers who lived in studio apartments and drove cars held together by optimism and duct tape. She was about to text Alexis and make an excuse to leave when the cafe door opened, and a man walked in carrying an enormous bouquet of white daisies. He was handsome in a way that seemed almost unfair, perhaps 30 years old, wearing a gray coat over dark clothes that suggested wealth without being ostentatious. He scanned the cafe, his eyes landing on Madison, and he smiled. Madison's first thought was that this had to be a prank. This man, who looked like he stepped out of a magazine, could not possibly be here for her. He approached her table. "Madison?" "Yes," she managed, her voice uncertain. "Are you Daniel?" "I am," he said, offering her the daisies. "These are for you. I hope you like them." Madison took the flowers, completely bewildered. "They're beautiful. But I have to ask, is this some kind of joke? Did Alexis put you up to this as a prank?" Daniel's smile faltered. "A prank? No, of course not. Why would you think that? Because men who look like you and carry around flowers like these don't go on blind dates with women like me," Madison said bluntly. "So either this is a prank or you're here for the wrong person, or I'm about to be on some hidden camera show. Which is it?" Daniel sat down across from her, his expression shifting from confusion to understanding to something that looked like sadness. "Madison, I'm here because Alexis told me about an incredible woman who teaches kindergarten, who volunteers at animal shelters on weekends, who makes her students laugh while teaching them to be kind humans. She said you were genuine and warm and exactly the kind of person I needed to meet. None of that suggested I'd be pranking you." Madison felt her face flush. "I'm sorry. That was rude. I just have a hard time believing this is real." "Why?" Daniel asked gently. "Because you're clearly successful and polished, and I'm a kindergarten teacher who can barely afford my rent," Madison said. "We're from different worlds. This doesn't make sense." "Can I tell you something?" Daniel said, leaning forward. "I'm the CEO of a technology company. I have money and success and all the things people think matter. But I've been on dozens of dates with women who were interested in my bank account, my connections, my ability to get them into exclusive places. None of them cared about who I actually am." He paused. "Alexis said you were different. She said you valued character over circumstances. I'm hoping she was right." Madison studied him, looking for signs of insincerity and finding none. "Okay, let's start over. Hi, I'm Madison. I teach 5-year-olds their ABCs and how to share. And I have a cat named Professor Whiskers because I thought it was funny." Daniel laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face. "Hi, I'm Daniel. I started a software company in my garage 7 years ago, and now it's worth more money than I know what to do with. I still don't know how to cook anything beyond toast, and I'm terrified of birds for reasons I can't explain." They talked for hours, the conversation flowing easily from topic to topic. Daniel asked about her students with genuine interest, laughed at her stories about kindergarten chaos, and listened when she talked about her dreams of one day running her own educational nonprofit. Madison asked about his work, was impressed by his passion for using technology to solve real problems, and appreciated his self-deprecating humor about his success. When the cafe owner gently reminded them they were closing, Madison was shocked to realize 4 hours had passed. "Can we do this again?" Daniel asked as they stood to leave. "Soon?" "Yes," Madison said, surprising herself with how much she meant it. "I'd like that." Over the following weeks, Daniel and Madison saw each other constantly. He showed up at her apartment with takeout and sat on her worn couch like it was the most natural thing in the world. She introduced him to her students during a career day, and he talked to 5-year-olds about computers with the same seriousness he brought to board meetings. They discovered they shared the same values. Kindness mattered more than success. Helping others was life's purpose, and love was built on respect and genuine connection. 6 weeks after their first date, Daniel asked Madison to meet him at the same cafe where they had met. When she arrived, he was sitting at the same table, and Madison felt a wave of nostalgia for that first afternoon when she had thought this was all a prank. "I wanted to bring you back here," Daniel said as she sat down, "because this is where it all started, where I met the woman who changed everything." Before Madison could respond, Daniel stood up, walked around the table, and knelt down on one knee. Madison's heart stopped. "Madison, 6 weeks ago you thought our first date was a prank. You couldn't believe someone like me would be interested in someone like you. But you had it backwards. I couldn't believe my luck that someone like you would give someone like me a chance." He pulled out a ring box. "You've shown me what actually matters in life. You've taught me that success means nothing without someone to share it with, that wealth is worthless if you're not using it to make the world better, and that the best moments in life are the simple ones. Sitting on a worn couch eating takeout, playing with kindergartners, making someone laugh after a hard day." Tears were streaming down Madison's face. Around them, the cafe had gone silent, other customers watching this moment unfold. "I know this is fast," Daniel continued. "I know we've only known each other 6 weeks. But when you know, and I know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Madison Hayes, will you marry me?" Madison looked at this man kneeling before her, offering her a ring and a future, and she thought about that first afternoon when she had been so sure this was too good to be true. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes." The cafe erupted in applause as Daniel slipped the ring on her finger and pulled her into his arms. Madison was laughing and crying at the same time, overwhelmed by the impossibility and the rightness of it all. "I can't believe you just proposed after 6 weeks, Madison said into his shoulder. "This is insane, is it?" Daniel asked, pulling back to look at her. "I've dated other women for months, years even, and never felt a fraction of what I feel for you. Why waste time when I've found exactly what I was looking for?" "Because normal people date for at least a year before getting engaged," Madison said, but she was smiling. "We can have a long engagement if you want," Daniel said. "I'm not in a hurry to rush the wedding. I'm just in a hurry to make sure you know how completely certain I am about us." They were married 8 months later, in a ceremony that combined elements from both their worlds. Held at a community center where Madison volunteered, catered by a local restaurant they both loved, with Madison's kindergarten class serving as flower girls and ring bearers. Daniel's business associates mingled with Madison's teacher friends, and the whole event felt like a perfect representation of what they had built together. A life that honored both their backgrounds while creating something entirely new. At the reception, Alexis gave a toast. 6 weeks from first date to engagement. Most people would say that's crazy. But I was there when Madison called me after that first date, saying she had just met the man she was going to marry. And I was there when Daniel called me the next day, asking how soon was too soon to propose. Sometimes when it's right, it's right. And these two were right from that very first afternoon when Madison thought it was all a prank. Madison laughed, remembering her incredulity and fear that first day. She looked at Daniel, at the man who had knelt down in a cafe and asked her to marry him after 6 weeks. And she knew that the best things in life often begin when we stop trying to make sense of them and simply trust the feeling that says, this is right, this is real, this is exactly where we're supposed to be. Sometimes love does not follow timelines or conventional wisdom. Sometimes it arrives suddenly and completely, and the only prank is thinking we can control when and how we fall. And sometimes the greatest act of courage is saying yes when everything happens faster than we planned, but feels more right than anything ever has. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of unexpected proposals, whirlwind romances that last, and discovering that sometimes the fastest love stories are the ones that endure longest because they were built on genuine recognition from the very first moment. Comment below and share about a time when you knew immediately that someone was special, or when taking a leap of faith led to lasting happiness. Your story could encourage someone else to trust their heart, even when the timeline seems impossible.